What's up, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers? Welcome to the video feed for episode 87 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, of course, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And warning, you can probably hear it. I'm going to say it again at the top of the audio-only episode here. My voice, not 100%. I'm going to do the best to get through it. I am not sick. I will get into why my voice is definitely nowhere near 100%. So just bear with me. See how long it lasts, but we definitely needed to get in here for a new episode, especially not having an episode last weekend. And it is Labor Day. It's not actually Sunday, but we're still calling it Common Sense Sundays. It's a long weekend. Actually, my daughter had a 4-day weekend this weekend for some crazy reason. That's what the schools do. So all that being said, let's get right into episode 87, see how long my voice lasts.
1, 2, 3, go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall. Go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall.
All right, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers. Welcome to another very exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. This is episode 87 on this scorching Los Angeles day. We'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get there, let's kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with us during episodes, after episodes, for episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do that in multiple locations. One of those would be facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. That's right, facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. That's our official Facebook page. If you're not much of a Facebook user, make sure you head on over to YouTube, youtube.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Subscribe to our official YouTube channel. You can find all of our video feeds as well as other clips and good playlists up there, especially if you're into watching the videos themselves and not just the audio. But either way, if you use YouTube, please give us please subscribe to our channel. I was about to say follow. You can't ever keep track of the different follow, subscribe, friend, whatever. Do the thing that you do on youtube.com/GoTellItToTheWall. And of course, my own personal Instagram account, which is at SoCalSean, SoCalSean, at SoCalSean. A lot of good content has been going up there over the past couple weeks, and a lot more content coming, which we're going to get into some show recaps and everything else. And you know there's going to be quite a few photos flying around on the Instagram as well as the Facebook, so make sure you're following at SoCalSean on the Instagram. And of course, we have our official website. That is SeanO'RourkeLive.com, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That's your one-stop shop for everything and anything pertaining to me, to Go Tell It to the Wall, Common Sense Sundays, all that great stuff. So make sure you bookmark that one and check back often. You're going to find links to those social platforms that I just mentioned as well. So make sure you've got that bookmarked and you're checking out. There's also exclusive content. I don't mention that every time. There's exclusive content that is only available on the website. You'll find a lot of it on YouTube and on Facebook, but there's stuff there to kind of drive traffic to the website, honestly. So make sure you're checking that out as well. You're also going to find a link to our Patreon campaign. We've been picking up a few new patrons here and there. So if you have the means to do so and want to, please support us financially through Patreon. If you don't want to get into using Patreon and signing up for that and doing all that stuff, you can also support us by picking up some merch. The merch website links directly from SeanO'RourkeLive.com. You'll see a nice little hyperlink at the top. It says merch, going to take you to our official website that has all of our Common Sense merch up there. So make sure you're doing that if you're interested in getting some t-shirts and all that kind of good stuff. We are in a heat wave. Depending where you live, if you're in Southern California especially, but really a lot of the South right now, like Southwest is getting just ravaged by heat. It's 110 degrees outside right now, or at least it was. I don't know if that's shifted a little bit, but 110. It's ridiculous. And it's also Labor Day. So happy Labor Day to everyone out there. Remember, we have Labor Day because of labor unions. We are very, very, very pro-union and pro-working class here at Go Tell It to the Wall. So happy Labor Day to everyone. And as you can see, we're releasing this Common Sense Sunday on a Labor Day. And a big part of that reason is also the reason my voice is not 100%, as you can hear. I'm going to see how long it lasts. I'm not sick. We had a show-filled weekend, not only seeing one of my absolute favorite bands, but also talking to friends that I don't get to see all the time. So my voice is just, it's not there. I feel fine, but my voice was put through the ringer over the weekend, and here we are. So bear with me. I know I don't sound the way I usually do, but I'll do my best to to get through without completely losing my voice. That's never a good thing. When you do what I do for a living and you start losing, not good. It just doesn't work like that. It's really, and anything I do is really voice oriented. So stay cool out there, especially if you're experiencing that heat wave. I've been just absolutely dying. I was soaking wet from water and sweat because there was bottled water getting thrown around from show last night and on Saturday night as well. It was just craziness, and we'll get into all those show recaps once we get to entertainment news. But before we do that, let's talk about some digital trends, some trends happening across the social digital platforms over the past week or so. One of those would be hashtag bad times to high five. I noticed this one trending. I love the funny ones where you can just go through and scroll and you see everyone making the jokes about it and stuff. Love the funny ones. And hashtag bad times to high five is definitely going to deliver on that. So go through, scroll if you need a little bit of a laugh or, a break from doom scrolling, as they say. And of course, there's a serious one and a funny one that I like. Clearly, after you've been intimate with your partner, not the best time to high five, unless that is part of your intimate life. I'm trying not to, be too vulgar here, I guess. I can say sex, it's my podcast, but you know what I mean. Not a lot of people high-fiving after that, I can't imagine. And of course, the more serious one, we shouldn't be high-fiving on the house floor when people are taking or not giving benefits to veterans of the country and claiming to be pro-military and all this other stuff. You remember that was a few weeks ago when Ted Cruz was high-fiving a bunch of his Republican asshole friends down there on the floor because they are blocking benefits for military veterans. Yes, I realize that shifted since then because there was such a blowback, but not a great look. Got to be honest. Even if it did come out better in the end, not a great look. You're going to be remembered for these things, Teddy Cruz there. All right. Hashtag describe a business badly. That's right. Hashtag describe a business badly. I enjoyed this one. First one that came up and popped into my head when I saw this. And even before I scrolled, again, hashtag describe a business badly. McDonald's is an ice cream store. This is the stereotype, which is it's a stereotype, but sometimes stereotypes are true. And every McDonald's, it's rare that you find a McDonald's where the ice cream machine is actually working. This happened to me a few weeks ago. I was popping into McDonald's. This was my kid wasn't even in school yet, so I was like, "Oh, let's go get some McDonald's," or whatever it was. I'm picking up some McDonald's, and this poor guy behind me, he's waiting in line trying to order. Finally gets up there. He just wants a small ice cream cone, and they're like, "Sorry, ice cream machine's broken." And just the look of disappointment on his face, I was like, "I feel you, buddy. It's really ridiculous. Plus, you just waited. I mean, it wasn't like forever, but he waited, 5-7 minutes for other people to order just to find out that he didn't even need to be standing there waiting." And of course, we all know the Waffle Houses. These are not popular or on the West Coast the way they are in the South, but Waffle Houses, it's 2 a.m. and you're drunk. Waffle House, which that can be said for a lot of places. Like on the West Coast here, it was Denny's because it's open 24 hours, or IHOP. That was my choice of cheap restaurant after partying in Hollywood on the way home to the Valley when I was in film school. And always hitting this IHOP. We had our own table. Like the regular servers were there. They knew what we were going to order. It was definitely a tradition, very similar to kind of the Waffle House vibe that you get down there. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say IHOP is as good as Waffle House, but that's kind of our version when it comes to being drunk and it's late and you just want to eat because you've been out drinking. Of course, not driving, but you just want to get some food. That's the Greasy Spoon. All right, Real America. This one's trending right now. Actually, things just started trending today as I was scrolling through. I was like, what is this Real America stuff? So apparently, Jim Jordan, the guy who is allergic to suit jackets and sport coats, he decided to tweet out that Real America, and I quote, is upset about student loan forgiveness for the elite. I quote, elite. He was saying basically that the student loan forgiveness, and we're going to get a little more into that and point out some obvious stuff with it, is really going to the elite people. For those of you that are moderately aware of the student loan forgiveness program that Biden has enacted, if you actually get more money forgiven on your loans if you are a Pell Grant recipient. Do you know what it takes to be a Pell Grant recipient? It means you are poor. It means your family cannot afford to contribute anything financially to your collegiate career and the tuition and everything else that goes with that, so you get an additional grant from the government. In no way is that people who are elite or wealthy getting loans forgiven. Here's the other thing that really kills me about all this. If everyone has a right to their opinion, that's fine. But you cannot complain about people who had predatory loans taken out when they didn't know any better, getting those forgiven. If you're not complaining about rich people and their fucking PPP loans all getting forgiven when clearly they have the money to afford many of the things that they claimed they needed through their PPP loans. We had a Kardashian who had her PPP loans forgiven. Tom fucking Brady. You think Tom Brady is hurting for money right now? No. Complain about that shit first before you come after something that's really going to the middle class and is going to help the economy. Unbelievable, man. And of course, hashtag Dementia Don. Let's keep that train rolling. He had a little rally, I think it was yesterday or the day before, somewhere. I don't even care. I hate, they pop up on socials and I rarely see what's going on. But the reason this one, hashtag Dementia Don, started trending is he's clearly losing it. He was giving a speech, and I watched a clip of this. He claimed that last week he met with Mark Zuckerberg in the White House, and Mark Zuckerberg said he is the #1 draw on Facebook. Well, Don, you haven't been in the White House for over a year. You got kicked out of the White House in 2021. And on top of that, you haven't been on Facebook for over a year. Clearly, he's losing it. He thinks he's still in the... I don't know what the hell's going on. And, of course, his base eats it up. Fucking guy has no idea what's going on. It's just common sense to sit there and be like, wait a minute. You weren't in the White House last week, Don. And I'm pretty sure you weren't meeting with Mark Zuckerberg last week. And, oh, yeah, you're not on Facebook. So how are you the #1 draw on Facebook? Unbelievable. People believe it. That's the thing. We've hit a point now, and we're going to talk about Dropkick Murphys. We've hit a point now where if you're still supporting that, there's nothing that can be done. He can shoot someone in the middle of 5th Avenue, and you're still going to support his ass. Amazing. All right, let's lighten it up a little bit before we move on here. The teenage dirtbag trend. Have you seen this one? It's another TikTok trend, but I'm seeing it pop up on other, like Instagram and stuff. I've seen even some close friends of mine have done it. Harmless. It's not even a challenge. It's this teenage dirtbag trend. If you know the song Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus, I think it came out in like the early 2000s. I'm just a teenage dirtbag. So what people are doing is they're using that song and they're posting kind of progressive photos of them in high school up until now. And that's the whole trend, is this teenage dirtbag thing. Fun trend. Participate in it if you want to. I am still not on TikTok. Go Tell It to the Wall will never be on TikTok. There's way too no, I'm not going to get into why. I think we've talked about it previously. Not something we're going to do. But maybe we'll get one posted on like the Instagram. So check that out. It's also fun seeing some of your friends or acquaintances awkward high school photos, which is always fun. So make sure you're checking that one out if you're interested. And of course, using that Wheatus song, which I hadn't heard in forever, but now I'm hearing it all the damn time. Very familiar with that song when it came out. It was very popular at the time. So definitely familiar with that one. All right, let's talk some COVID updates. I'm going to be sipping my water here out of my Go Tell It to the Wall mug quite a bit because, like I said, as you can hear, my voice is not 100%. I feel fine. My energy level's fine. It's just I destroyed my voice the past. Too much talking, too much singing, all the things, and that's just what happens. It'll probably be recovered in like a day or so. It's also appropriate because the man burned on Saturday, and I usually come back with no voice after Burning Man. So it's timing-wise, despite the fact that I wasn't at Burning Man, I have again lost my voice at this time of year, which used to be a regular occurrence when I was going to the burn. All right, COVID updates. New boosters, they're out now. We mentioned this last episode that they were coming out soon. They are out now. So check with your doctor or your pharmacist for availability on that. I know like CVS, I've seen them posting that they are getting the new booster shots and to get appointments through them and everything. That's where I got my previous boosters was at CVS. Before that, it was one of the pop-up things, but CVS, that just happens to be my pharmacy. But check with your pharmacist or your doctor, see if you're eligible, and see when and where you can get that done. I already know some people that have gotten the newest booster. These are people that are higher risk, obviously, and we're kind of front of the line on that, and so far, the reviews, the side effects are a little bit mixed. I've heard from some that it's not great. I've heard from others that it was just whatever. And I've found that it seems to me, and again, I am not a doctor. This is just what I'm hearing from people. And, of course, what I've experienced with my own shots for the COVID vaccine is some people are saying it is similar to the first shot where they were kind of laid out for a day or so. Some other people have said there was no real side effects from it. So, of course, not to scare anyone, but if you had bad side effects on the first shot, maybe you're going to get some on the booster. But the important thing is you're going to be protected. So get the damn booster. And we have really... It seems like this just will not die. There was a kind of a false claim out there. We have the National Institute of Health. They have guidelines for treating COVID-19. And so there's some false information coming out saying that that list included ivermectin or ivermectin, whatever it is, the horse dewormer stuff that was everybody was taking and shitting their pants a while ago. Well, it's not on that list. This is an easy fact check. I always tell all of you out there, everything I say, a lot of it's opinion unless I tell you I'm pulling it directly from some kind of fact thing. This is directly a fact that I'm giving you. It is, in fact, not on the list of things to help treat COVID-19. Has nothing to do with any of the guidelines from the National Institute of Health. And this is the problem, is so many people are quick to jump on things instead of looking into it and saying, oh, no, ivermectin is not one of those things. Of course, people are still going to use it. There's probably some asshole out there saying, use ivermectin and blah, 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 blah. Don't use it. It's not an effective treatment for COVID-19. And many are still claiming vaccines don't work. I'm seeing lots of posts like this. Here's the bottom. And to all those people, when I see it, I'm like, well, did you die? No. Vaccine worked. Simple as that. And it's not going to hurt your chances of having a mild case of COVID or catching COVID. Just get the goddamn vaccine. Get the boosters, get all the things, be smart, follow the science. It's really simple. It's common sense. Follow the science. Common sense. We don't have millions of doctors around the country and the world trying to troll everybody with fake vaccines. That's just not something that happens. That would be the wildest cover-up and conspiracy in the history of the world, to be honest. So follow the science. Get your damn shots. Call it a day. Just be safe. You know, one day we're going to get out of this and we're going to look back and be like, yeah, remember when people were dumb and didn't want to get the vaccine because they swore it didn't work, but it did? That's where we're heading. All right, mental health. I want to talk about some mental health this week, and it's actually pertinent because I've been seeing this happening recently, and it always kind of bubbles up. So I want to talk about social media and the pressure of social media, the ups and downs of social media, and how that can adversely affect your mental health. This is something that, depending on your age, we didn't have to deal with as kids. You know, even as teenagers. There was no social media when I was a teenager. This was, when I was a teenager, AOL Instant Messenger was just coming out. That was like the thing, and even that I didn't use. But now we create and get so much pressure from social media. We tend to value ourselves based on likes, follows, all those kind of things, everything that encompasses social media. And it can be great to connect with people, but it can also lead to depressive states, anxious states, feeling like you're not as good of a person as you are, or you're not as popular a person as you are. Don't base your popularity and your value on social media. One of the biggest things is like waiting for a friend request or a follow. And you're like, well, why am I not cool enough for this? I go through this all the time. And at the same time, I think if everyone stepped back and looked, I get friend requests from people on Facebook. I tend to accept most of them, but sometimes I'm like, I have no idea who you are. We don't have any friends in There's always that kind of stuff. You don't know what other people are thinking. Sometimes it even gets lost. It's lost in notifications from social media. And of course, like things like being left on red. You send someone a message and you're like, well, we're friends and everything else. We have so much information thrown at us on a daily basis that, again, sometimes those get lost kind of in the wind. Now, we can also do a better job on the other side. If someone's reaching out to you, take the time to respond to them. That's something important. That's something I try to do. And, of course, sometimes it falls through the cracks. Sometimes I see messages come across and I'm in the middle of wrangling a 5-year-old and everything else, and I don't get to it until a couple hours later. But be aware of that. Just because that's happening doesn't necessarily mean someone is ignoring you. Now, it could mean someone's ignoring you, but if they are ignoring you, that your time being given to them isn't important either. So kind of reclaim your time, as I guess you could say. And when it's overwhelming, step back. Step back. If you're getting overwhelmed by social media, I do this myself. I get overwhelmed. I'm trying to track everything. I've got photos flying out there, new videos, new episodes, everything else. Sometimes you just got to step back. Just take a break from it, step back, or even not take a full break, just step back and think like, okay, what's the next step on whatever I'm trying to do? Is it really important that this isn't getting as many likes as this other thing, or I'm not as popular as this really popular musician or actor or model, whatever it might be? Step back for a minute and evaluate those things. Like I said, I'm very guilty of this. I've said that many times over the years. And you want that validation. You do. We all, even prior to social media, as humans, we want validation. And even something as simple as kindness. They say kindness spreads, and it's true. If somebody's extra kind to you, you're going to tend to be kinder back to them. And maybe you're going to take that and then be kind to somebody else that you're interacting with later that day, later that week, whatever it might be. So let that spread. Focus on those things. You don't need to have 5,000 friends on Facebook and be able to communicate with all of them. It seems like you do, but that's not going to define you and your value or your worth. And remember, a lot of times people do see it. That's what happens to me is, sometimes I'm like, well, why is nobody liking this? But then I run into people in person. They're like, oh, yeah, I was checking out blah, blah, blah. And it's like, people are seeing it. They're just sometimes not taking the moment to click the like button or the follow, whatever it might be. So keep that in mind as well. And you're much more than your profile. We live in a world now where everything, and you don't even know what's real on social media. You could think, oh, that's the coolest person on the face of the earth, and I really want to interact with them because they look like they're living this great life. But inside, at home or whatever it might be, that's not the reality of what they're going through at that time. That is the reality that they present. So keep that in mind as well. It's not worth the detriment to your mental health. It never is. And remember, there's always going to be someone out there. And if you think you're all alone and you want to just talk to someone over social media, send me a message. You can do it through SeanO'RourkeLive.com, and you can do it through Facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. You can send messages there. All those messages will sometimes be seen because I have two admins that work on the Facebook page. But anything through the website will just go directly to me. So I'm here. Reach out. If you're having some trouble, if you're struggling, reach out. I will do the best I can to help. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. I simply go based on my own experiences dealing with a debilitating mental illness and mental health issues over the years. So let me know. If that's something you need, I am here. Absolutely. All right, positive news. Man, my voice. I'm telling you, I feel fine, but I keep hearing it, and then it kind of, ugh. Got to keep drinking the water, which is probably good anyway since it's 1,000 degrees outside. I swear, birds are just spontaneously combusting. What's going on around here? All right, positive news. I hinted at it talking about, what's his face? Jim Jordan, anti-sport coach Jim Jordan. Student loan forgiveness. Some of you out there might not find this to be positive news. I do. Here's the bottom line with student loan forgiveness. This is a huge relief to everybody that was duped into taking out predatory loans. The rates and loans are absolutely predatory. If you look at the interest rates on it, and these are provided by the government, we shouldn't be paying these high interest rates to get an education. And especially if you're of a certain age, a certain generation, a lot of us were told, you go to college. I went to a preparatory high school, and it's called a preparatory high school because they prepare you for college. It was a small high school. My graduating class was like 100, but it was 100% college acceptance because that's what we were fed to do. And that can be great sometimes, but it's not the only route to adulthood, to getting into a profession. If you're going to be a doctor, yes, you got to go to school. Lawyer, you got to go to school. I get that. I went to film school. I don't think you necessarily need to go to film school to get into film. Kevin Smith, the great Kevin Smith, film school dropout. And here's the thing that I see there's a couple things I see as an argument. Now, I mentioned the PPP loans. You cannot complain about student loan forgiveness and not complain about forgiving PPP loans. Okay? The other thing is, sure, loans should be paid back. I understand that. But this is something that if you really are interested to look at the minutia of it, a lot of people have paid back their loans. What happens is the interest rates are so high that the principal just keeps going up. People are retired and still paying off student loans because you cannot pay down the goddamn balance. I see it compared a lot of times to a loan to buy a car. And yes, you're paying interest and you're going to pay more than what the sticker price was on a car. But we're not talking double, triple, quadruple of what you paid for the car. In some cases, when it comes to student loans, that is what is happening. So it's not apples to apples. It is very different. And then everyone's out there complaining that the taxpayers are footing this bill. Here's the thing. It is a loan that you have from the government. The government is just nothing's getting paid. You can complain all you want. They are erasing something that shouldn't have been there to begin with, and they're not erasing everything. It's simply a relief to many that have struggled over the years, and especially, like I said, PPP loans. Let's keep businesses alive. Well, how about all the people that weren't able to work for 2 years or had sporadic work or got COVID, long COVID? They shouldn't have their loans at least somewhat forgiven? Makes no sense to me. No sense whatsoever. And the bottom line, this was a study that was done years ago, but when people have been talking student loan forgiveness forever, years ago, when they were sending out a stimulus. Let's stimulate the economy by sending everyone $1,000 or whatever it was. And it was like, you know what? Look at what it could do for the economy if you took away this predatory debt from so many people that got into it without fully understanding what they were doing. We're talking about 17, 18-year-olds taking out crazy loans. Now, those people are going to have money in their pocket. They're going to be able to buy a house, start a family, start a small business. These are the things to consider. So while many people out there disagree, to me, this is 100% positive news, and I hope that it's going to bring relief to a lot of people out there. Personally, I will be benefiting from it. And my household is a great example. Now, obviously, I am married, so it's essentially both. My wife actually, she finished paying off her student loans a few years ago. Early on, and I remember her saying, like, I paid up. There was not a huge balance, and just paid it off. But then I still have student loans. My family was unable to contribute really at all, so I'm still sitting on them. So my family is an example of someone that did pay it off, because you hear that, what about everyone else that paid off their student loans? I get it. But it's the same thing as if we get a cure for cancer, do we just not give it to people because other people had to pass away from cancer? No, my wife's not upset that she had to pay off her loans and now people are having theirs forgiven. Again, not even completely forgiven. 100% positive news in my book. Common sense says it's positive news. And like I said, I hope it's going to be a huge relief to many, many, many around the country that have been struggling because of paying back student loans. All right, let's talk some parenting. I don't have a lot this week, but I will tell you, and I know many of you out there are probably experiencing this. This is something that was happening at the height of COVID when everyone was isolated and everything else, and that's entertaining your kids. Kids don't really, they'll walk outside and say, oh my, it's hot, but kids don't really fully understand the concept of a heat wave. My kid has asked me 15 times over the past week, what is a heat wave? Well, it's when weather gets unreasonably hot and you got to be careful and you got to hydrate and you don't want to be outside too much. Thank God for central air conditioning. It was extra funny. It was a year ago. It was either a year ago or 2 years ago. Air conditioning broke, and it was right around this same weekend. And sure enough, we had 110-degree heat at that time. People are always shocked, but wow, what's this? It's September. What's the heat? And it's like, there is a very offensive term that can be used to describe it, but that's what we're going through. And it's like the revenge of September. Like, we're not quite done with summer, and September comes in and says, nope, not yet, everyone. But keeping him entertained. My kid wants to go outside so bad. She's like, why can't we go outside? And my dog, for that matter, dog usually gets like 3 walks a day. As we walk to school, take my kid to school, pick her up, and then he gets an evening walk. And lately, the past week or so, a little less than a week, he gets a walk in the morning. Because after that, it's too hot. But he doesn't understand it's too hot. Nor does a kid. Definitely more TV than usual happening in my house. My kid does not watch TV all day. I will never criticize anyone that just lets, all access to technology and television and stuff, but that's just not something we do in my house. She gets like an hour of TV a day. She has TV time. She calls it. It's almost TV time. Yeah, we watch an episode of couple episodes of Daniel Tiger, kid stuff. Bluey. Everybody loves Bluey. But that's really all you can do. So I've had this challenge for the past almost week of trying to keep her entertained. Well, and to an extent, she's going to school while this heat wave's happening, but it really increased this weekend, and they didn't have school here in LA on Friday, so she's essentially just been stuck inside. And I'm the same way. I have to go, yesterday I had to go grab something out of the garage, and I was like, if I stay in here for more than 30 seconds, I am going to pass out. So I feel you out there, parents, and pet owners. Well, dog owners, cats don't care. They're like, give me air conditioning, I'm good. But if you have a pet that needs to go outside quite a bit, it's got to be absolutely brutal. I will say some good news from the parenting and school standpoint, and I know many parents out there can relate on an even bigger level, because my child was not in school in 2020, but people whose kids started school in like 2020. You have like 2 years of not going on campus. I have friends that their daughter, I want to say, is in like second grade. The first time they were on campus was this year. And so at my daughter's school, they actually had back to school night, which they've had in the past, but they did it over Zoom. So you're meeting teachers digitally. And, you see them face to face at pickup a little bit and everything else, and you can kind of talk to them for a minute, but you're not going into the classrooms. So when my kid had her first day of school, we got to walk her to kindergarten. It was fantastic. And then having back to school night was absolutely fantastic because we're in the classroom. We're talking to her teacher. She's been in school for, almost 2 weeks at that time. And we're really getting face-to-face info and seeing where she's learning and what's going on. And it really is a world of difference. And I feel for all the parents out there that especially are just now getting in there after like 2 years of Zoom classes and everything else. And I know we were in school last year, but parents were not allowed on campus. Just nope, parents, you drop a kid off at the gate, at the office, whatever it might be, not allowed on campus. So it's nice to get that little bit of normalcy back from a parenting perspective. And especially for me, this my kid, first kid in school. I haven't had other kids in school, obviously. And so it's been a welcome change. I am not looking forward to her going back to school tomorrow because it's going to be like 110 degrees. I don't know how the kids are surviving this. That's the one thing. Is like when it's this hot. We almost need like the heat equivalent of snow days. Where like it is too hot, kids stay home. We'll send you some stuff to work on at home, and instead of going and dealing with the unbearable heat. And fortunately, my kid's school has air conditioning, but I can only imagine a school that doesn't really have a nice functioning air conditioner. How brutal that is. You're just poor kids, and then you're trying. And anyone out there that has young kids, trying to keep them hydrated, good Lord. You're just constantly like, have some water. No, I don't want one. Just have some water. It's too hot. You need to be hydrated. It's crazy. I swear, big water and creating heat waves somehow with their satellites. That is not a real conspiracy theory. I am making a joke. Somebody's going to be looking that up and hitting me up on SeanO'RourkeLive.com being like, I fact-checked. I know, this is not an actual thing. It's just like big math, big water. We always like to joke about those here at Go Tell Us the Wall, because common sense, Speaking of common sense, let's get into a little bit of common sense on this fine Labor Day 2022. So Joe Rogan, he was popping up. This guy pops up for like everything. And I think he had Zuckerberg on his podcast lately. I never pay attention until he's kind of trending and something silly comes out or there's articles being written about him. And he came out recently and told everyone they need to vote Republican. Now, we're not a political podcast. You obviously know that we lean progressive. I don't even like Democrats. And everyone has the right to their opinion. That's fine. You want to vote Republican, vote Republican. The thing with Joe Rogan is he has always billed himself as a progressive individual. But now he's flip sides. And he's telling every one of his listeners to vote Republican. Now, of course, yes, I'm not going to sit here and say you're a bad person because you're voting Republican. But here's the bottom line. He has such a big fan base, and he's in Texas, a state where they are taking away women's rights. That is the biggest thing on the ballot right now, is the Supreme Court and states wanting to take away women's health rights. And I've said it before, what's next on the docket if we keep electing Republicans is they're going to take away same-sex marriage. And remember, many of you have parents that were alive when it was illegal for people of different races to get married. That's what's on the ballot. And that's why Joe Rogan is a fucking idiot. Out here spewing ivermectin. Don't get vaccinated. Vote for the people taking away women's rights. Is that really a guy you want to follow and emulate? No, not at all. Not at all. Unless you're just roided out and going crazy, maybe. I don't know. But the bottom line, women's fucking rights. Common sense. All right, people on social media complaining about the MAGA backlash. This is spawned from Joe Biden giving a speech last week, a primetime speech, where he talked about MAGA culture and MAGA politics, the Make America Great Again stuff, that whole movement. And not even necessarily he even said, no, we have moderate Republicans that we can work with. He was calling out the Trump cult, is what he's calling out. And what I want to unpack about this is there are many people, Republicans, who took to social media and said, what is so bad about wanting to make America great again? There's nothing bad about wanting to make America great again. The thing about the MAGA movement is they don't actually want to make America great again. They're trying to create essentially a fascist state. We've seen it with the Supreme Court. We've seen it with senators blocking benefits for military veterans. This isn't anti-making America great. This is anti that movement that has beaten people down, taken away women's rights, taken away same-sex rights, children's rights, putting guns in the hands of 18-year-olds. That's the MAGA movement. And here's the thing with that. The same people who are coming out and saying, what's wrong with wanting to make America great again, are pretty much the same people that come out and say BLM is a terrorist movement. And you know what? You can have your opinion on that. We are finding things out from people who are the leaders of the BLM movement that maybe some money, and I look it up yourself. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert on this. But think of it this way. That's the movement that maybe you disagree with. But if you're going to complain about wanting to make America great again, you also have to acknowledge that black lives do matter. And they're the same ones that complain about that, saying that is a terrorist movement. That's the common sense of it all. It really is. It's the same thing. You can disagree with some things, but if you're just breaking it down to what those letters stand for, then yeah. You can't have it both ways. So many politicians and people out there think they can just have it both ways. And it's hypocrisy at its finest, which we talk about quite a bit here on Common Sense Sundays and Go Tell to the Wall. All right, electric cars in California. So this law was passed. We knew it was coming. California is going to ban the sale of gasoline cars by the year 2035. So like 13 years from now. We're talking almost 15 years. Well, what's happening now is because we're having this heat wave in California, it is stressing the power grid because everyone is running air conditioning and everything else and trying to stay cool. So depending on what state you live in, you might have something similar. We have what's called a flex alert here in California. And the state will issue it, and they will ask, not require, ask people to conserve energy. We will often turn the thermostat up to a higher temperature, so it's not running quite as much. And sometimes it leads to rolling blackouts. In fact, we've had a warning of that today. I don't know if this episode's going to get interrupted. I know certain areas have had some blackouts because the power grid gets stressed. And you could say, well, fix the power grid. We're also talking about a week out of every year where these flex alerts kind of come out. The other thing on top of that is the flex alert is they ask you to do it from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Not all day, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. So now because of this, because the state is asking people to use less electricity with the flex alerts during that peak period, people are pointing out, well, how is California going to handle the electric cars if that's all we're going to have? Well, here's the thing to unpack on this. Common sense. First of all, they're not banning gasoline cars. You're still going to be able to have a gasoline car in 2035. You're just not going to be able to buy one in the state of California. This is a green initiative. It's going to move us. On top of that, the less gasoline cars on the road, the less damage to the environment, and the less crazy weather we get like heat waves. On top of that, 13 years. The state of California has some time to plan and figure out how everyone's going to be able to charge their electric cars. On top of that, even if you have an electric car right now that has to be charged when you're at home, just don't charge the damn thing from 4 to 9 p.m. Charge it overnight maybe, when it's not peak time, when it's not flex alerts. And on top of that, like I said at the top of this particular topic, it's not a requirement. They don't cut your power off from 4 to 9 p.m. They simply ask you to be a good Californian and conserve so that the power grid is not as stressed. So you gotta love it. I see people in Texas complaining. It's like, dude, glass houses, my friend. Glass houses. We get it a little bit here and there. You guys down there are fucked when it comes to your power grid. Let's knock it off. One thinks they're very smart by pointing this out. Well, let's point out all of the things that encompass this. It's not that hard. 13 years away. We'll figure something out by then. They're not doing this tomorrow. All right, Matt Ariza. We're going to talk some sports ball, but I encourage you, and be careful because it is truly disturbing. But I encourage you, this is not pertaining to, it is sports, but it's not pertaining to sports itself. Matt Ariza is a punter. He was actually drafted into the NFL, and up until a week or two ago was a part of the Buffalo Bills NFL football team. Well, after he was drafted and already started playing in the preseason with the Bills, some news came out that he was accused of and forgive me for using these terms. I don't like it, but they need to be used. Accused of a gang rape while he was at San Diego State University playing football. The truly disturbing part about this is it happened almost a year ago, and we are only recently learning about this because the young lady who was raped has come out with a civil lawsuit against Matt Ariza and the other gentlemen who are accused of this gang rape. On top of that, she was 17 at the time. Matt Ariza was 21 or 22. This happened in San Diego, just off campus at San Diego State University. For those of you not familiar with San Diego State University, you have the campus and you have the dorms, but there's a large area around there with fraternity houses and not official student housing, but a lot of students rent, houses and condos right around that area. I'm familiar with it because I grew up in San Diego. And even in college, I went to college in LA, but sometimes we went down to San Diego and we'd hang out by the campus and do a little partying down there. Almost a year ago. And what's gradually being uncovered, and this is why I encourage you to check this out, because it partly has to do with sports, but it has to do with common sense. She was underage in the state of California. That is statutory rape. On top of that, this was clearly being covered up by the university as well as the San Diego Police Department. We have learned that the San Diego Police Department was aware of it. And instead of taking action, just continued to gather information. Finger quotes, gather information. Here's where the sports part comes into it. He was a punter for San Diego State University who was having what you would call an exceptional football season last year. They did quite well, considering, and we're not talking Ohio State, Alabama good, but for what they usually do and for their conference, they were doing quite well. Matt Ariza was the number one punter in the country. And on top of that, SDSU just unveiled a new small stadium that they built in San Diego for this season. Clearly, the university was trying to sweep things under the rug. The coach was aware of it. Many within the athletic department were aware of it. The San Diego Police Department was aware of it. And these guys just got to continue doing their thing. Who knows how many more times this happened because no action was taken by the university or the police department in San Diego. As far as I'm concerned, I hope SDSU loses every single football game for the rest of eternity. Because there is no excuse for this. And heads need to roll. People need to be fired, and they need to gut everything there, and this needs to be handled. And here's the one last thing I will leave you with. People were aware of it. We're finding out now that students and other people kind of knew about this. This is not something that should just be normalized on college campuses or within college atmospheres. Trust me, I get it. I went to Cal State Long Beach for a year. There's a fraternity there that was notorious. I knew multiple females that were drugged at parties at this fraternity house. This is not normal. And we can't just brush it off. There need to be consequences and a complete overhaul of the system within a lot of these colleges. Disgusting. A fucking year. A year. Almost a year. It was October 2021. We swept under the rug. Unbelievable. All right, entertainment news. I think my child is doing somersaults in the hallway outside my studio right now. Heat wave, man. I can't even throw her. It's so hot. I can't even throw her in the pool. I don't literally throw her. I always joke about that. I'm like, it's so hot, I'm gonna throw her in the pool. And, we just get in the pool. But it's so hot, you can't even swim right now. I think the water's probably 90 degrees in the pool. We just got a little, pop up, not a huge pool, pop up pool. Throw some ice in there if you're going to be getting in there with this heat wave. All right, let's talk some entertainment news, and we're going to wrap it up. My voice is, I don't want to say it's holding strong, but it's not getting any worse. I think that's the important thing here. All right, Taylor Hawkins' tribute concert, the drummer for Foo Fighters, who unfortunately passed away a few months ago. They held a tribute concert in England. I don't know. I believe it was in London. Apologies, I don't remember exactly where it was happening. They held a big tribute concert for Taylor Hawkins. So obviously the Foo Fighters were there. So many stars and musicians just galore at this event. Them Crooked Vultures, maybe you're not familiar with. It's a bit of a supergroup featuring Dave Grohl. They actually got together to play some songs. And most importantly, Taylor's son sat in on drums for the Foo Fighters, specifically playing Hero, My Hero or Hero. Everyone knows that song. Even if you're not a big Foo Fighters fan, you've heard the song. There goes my hero. So very emotional. I've only seen some clips of it, but I know you can find it on YouTube if you're interested in checking that out. Obviously, many, many people miss Taylor Hawkins. Foo Fighters is going to be moving forward, obviously, with some kind of new drummer. If they could find a way for Dave Grohl to play guitar and drums and sing at the same time, they'd probably do that, but that would look a little awkward. It would look like, what's his name in oh my gosh, Mary Poppins. He's got the, cymbals and the one-man band type thing. All right, we got some news from NoFX. NoFX, apparently, they're going to be calling it quits after 2023, after next year. People ran with this. This is all based off a quick post by Fat Mike, the frontman of NoFX. And clearly, with everybody running with it, we don't actually know 100% that it's true. And basically, I'll believe it when I see it. And also, I'm going to laugh my ass off if it is just Fat Mike trolling everyone and getting articles and all this stuff. You just see it like crazy. Everyone's like, oh my God. And it's two sides of it too. Everyone's like, oh my God, we got to see NoFX next year before they're done. And then there's the people that hate NoFX because you either love NoFX or you hate them. I mean, I guess I could take them or leave them, whatever. It's their shows are not as, I've heard they suck live. There you go, for people that are familiar. So it's that side, and people are like, yes, they're finally, they're not going to be playing anymore. I'll believe it when I see it, like I said. And it's very similar to the Tom DeLonge rumors. Like, Mark Hoppus will say something, and they're like, oh my God, Tom is coming back to the band. And it's like, no, they just made a, 20th anniversary, whatever, Funko Pop set. Calm down. So we'll see if it actually happens. All right, Dropkick Murphys. They were playing a festival, I think, sometime over the past couple days. And went a little viral because Ken Casey, the one of the lead singers of Dropkick Murphys, came out and he went on, I don't even want to call it a rant. It's not ranting like I do. It's more calling out some common sense. Again, this goes back to people who are like, why don't you want to make America great again? No, he said the MAGA movement is killing our country, and I'm paraphrasing here. And anybody following that is absolutely just rich elite, and they're trying to take money out of the pockets of the middle class. Again, Dropkick Murphys, very much more than we are here at Go Tell It to the Wall, very much pro-union and working class. So this is not shocking at all, but it's good to see, and I know there's going to be people out there that always do this. They're like, Rage Against the Machine, when did they become political? Their first album? Dropkick Murphys, what? They're pro-union and, yeah. Have you heard their music? Have you heard them talk? So good on them. Proud to be a fan. And I'm looking forward to the inevitable, like, dude, are you dumb? Yes, of course. Of course this is the side they're on. What are you thinking? All right, let's get into some show recaps. We've had 3 since the last episode, so I'm going to try to cook through these and call it a day because the voice can't last much longer here. All right, let's start it off with Chaser. I mentioned this show coming up on our last episode. Chaser at the Tiki Room down there in Costa Mesa. That happened last weekend. I'm wearing actually a new Chaser shirt, new design by Chaser. I love this design. So if you're not watching the video feed, go check it out. Especially if you're a Chaser fan, you can pick it up through their merch website. Fantastic! It's one of my favorite designs of theirs. And I say this to Mike every time. I'm like, God damn it! I told him, I was like, yeah, now I got to get another shirt because you got the design. It's like, yep, all right. And they just great designs to go along with fantastic music and 4 awesome musicians in that band. So made the trek down to Tiki Bar in Costa Mesa. Those of you familiar with Los Angeles know that is not close to where I live. I live in Los Angeles, like in northeast Los Angeles. It's Costa Mesa is not close. Luckily, this one was a Saturday. The last time I had to go see Chaser at Tiki Bar, it was a Friday. It took me 2.5 hours to get there. This was a little bit quicker getting there. So get down there, and actually had a good friend who was he lives not far from the Tiki Bar. Had a little barbecue before we headed over to the venue. Get into the venue, all the fun, seeing all the good friends, and we've hit a point where we're calling it the Chaser family because it really is a family finger quote event. Because the Chaser fan, a lot of Chaser fans are very close. They're very close with the band. Lots of interaction. If you want to see some photos and video from that concert last weekend, it's up on my Instagram at SoCalSean on Instagram. So Chaser did a fantastic job as always. Fourth in Line opened for them. I love those guys in Fourth in Line as well. I consider a couple of them very good friends, and they had a fantastic set. There's also some Fourth in Line photos up there on Instagram, so make sure you're checking that out. And of course, tacos at the Tiki Bar. That is a highlight. You go for the music and you stay for the tacos, is what I like to say. So if you haven't been to Tiki Bar, especially if you live nearby, catch a show there. It's a great venue. It's a smaller venue, so you're not going to get huge bands there, but it is a great venue. They have a nice outdoor patio that you can hang out on, talk with all your friends. I made quite a few new friends that night. Some merch sellers and everything else is just kind of what I tend to do. Despite the fact that I'm an introvert, I end up getting in lots of conversations with people I meet at shows. Same thing happened yesterday. So make sure you're checking them out. Check out the new Chaser merch. Check out Fourth in Line. We've talked about them briefly before. I got some new stickers over here that I got to put up on the wall. They hooked me up with some stickers at the show. But all the greatness that was happening last Saturday. Had a blast. And we weren't quite in the heat wave yet, which was nice. It was not too hot last weekend. The heat wave started like midweek last week, less than a week ago. So not too hot out there. Had a blast. The only complaint I have is, and I'm driving home with my sis Laura. She's in the. I drove. So I was like, you get some drinking on. So we're driving home, and we're like 30 minutes into the drive, and we hit a point on the freeway, and I was like, yeah, this is where we would be if we were leaving Alex's bar. Like, we've already been on the road for like half hour. It's like, oh, Jesus. That's what was nice about last night. I was downtown L.A. last night. I was like, oh, my God, 15 minutes. This is the greatest thing ever. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But check out Tiki Bar. Highly recommend it. The only complaint, like I said, that I have is it is quite a drive for me. Quite a drive. All right, now let's get into the past couple nights of my concert going experience. 2 nights, 2 shows in a row. One of my absolute top 3 favorite bands, Less Than Jake. I've been listening to them since I was yay high, very, very young, getting into the ska punk scene, and I've loved them ever since. Of course, I admitted a little while back that I own an NFT now because I wanted to be part of the Less Than Jake Evo Kid Army, which is their official fan club, and of course, I was able to, for those of you seeing the video, I was able to pick up my NFT exclusive swag, and got it 2 nights in a row. Got a signed ticket from their digital thing, so I got 2 of those, and this is actually exclusive. It's the Fat Mike is on Drugs Again sticker. It's a play on a song they did. Those are exclusive to the Evo Kid Army, so got to pick those up, which, of course, that was a highlight in itself. But House of Blues on Saturday, this one was ridiculously hot at House of Blues. And I was joking with people. I feel like it's the first time in my concert-going career where walking out to the patio or the outdoor area didn't actually cool you off. For those of you that go to shows, like, even if you're not a smoker, you're like, okay, let me catch my breath, get some fresh air, cool off on the patio. Nope. It was warmer on the patio at House of Blues than it was inside House of Blues. Still a fantastic time, of course. And I'm out on the patio, and I run into Lynn Lee from Bad Cop, and some other friends that I hadn't seen in a long while. But fantastic show, those NFT goodies, and ran into Roger Lima, the bassist for Less Than Jake, one of my absolute favorite bassists. So got to get a couple pics with him, which was fantastic. And I that's the funny thing is, for those of us of a certain age, I've met Less Than Jake a bunch of times, the entire band back in the late 90s, early 2000s, because when they were on the Warped Tour circuit, they would just go hang out at the merch booth, and you're like, hey, how's it going? Of course, this is pre-digital cameras and everything else, and so you can maybe get some autographs, and maybe you'd get a picture if you're carrying a film camera around. But it was nice, and that's years ago. Hadn't met them in person in a very long time, so it was nice to say hi to Roger and get a quick pic with him and everything else. And also be like, yo, I'm in the Evo Kid Army, man. He's like, cool, because he's real active in that fan club. I will say, for the most part, good pit etiquette. I was not going to make my way to the pit. I was kind of on the outer edges, and then a couple people were getting pushed. So because I'm taller, this tends to happen. I got toward the edge of the pit, and then I got pushed toward the front. And then what happened was some people were getting hit by crowd surfers. And then on top of that, there was a guy in front of me, probably his girlfriend, wife, significant other, or maybe, I don't know. He was actually taller than me, but the pit was pushing toward the rail, and he's just getting smacked. And he's trying to hold back and the female that was with him was quite short, so would have just been getting plowed into the rail because nobody can see her. So what I said, nope, and I was giving a little extra protection to them, and then there was a couple of younger kids, a family. This guy, probably a little bit older than me, been a Less Than Jake fan forever. So I'm kind of just, keeping the crowd surfers up. So it was good pit etiquette as far as that could go. There was one guy, though, kept causing problems. He was pushing people. There was a young lady right next to me who was clearly a seasoned concert goer. You could just tell, and she's holding her own. But he's like grabbing her and stuff. And at one point, he's got a bloody nose. And he's like right behind me. I see security pointing, and I was like, what? And I look back, and they're telling him to get out. And I was like, I got you. So we're saying, like, dude, you got to get out. You're freaking bleeding. You can't be running around the pit and spreading this on everybody. And they came back. He cleaned up. It was a whole thing. But, of course, one rude dude doesn't ruin it. It's just we've been running into that lately. A rude dude, and you're like, that's enough, man. Or the guy trying to pull me in the pit at Bomb Pops. Like, that's enough. But outside of that, it was a fantastic time. And I got me a little drumstick. The Less Than Jake signature series. It's a Matt Yonker drumstick. This was fantastic. It's funny. I don't know how much of this got used, because usually you can tell when you catch a drumstick that it's been, beat up a bit. This one might have just been in his spares and then got thrown. But that's the advantage of height. Is I reached up, bam, pulled that bad boy out of the air, and was quite happy with that. And then Punk Rock Saves Lives was out there. I always say this: if you haven't been checking out Punk Rock Saves Lives, you are missing out. They didn't have the greatest placement at House of Blues, but then they did have fantastic placement last night for Less Than Jake at the Belasco. And I should say, I'll get into more of the other bands for this because I was so busy catching up with friends and everything that I really did not watch a lot, and getting my NFT swag and everything else. I really didn't catch much of the other bands. A little bit. I always do. But last night I caught more of all four bands. And this was at the Belasco. It's the Belasco Theater down there in downtown. Weirdly, I'd never been there. 15 minutes away. And I was like, I've never even heard of this. And I pull up, and for those of you familiar, it's literally right next door to the Mayan. And I was like, how did I never notice that there's a whole nother venue right next to the Mayan? In my single days, that's what you did. You went to the Mayan, you did a little dancing, had a couple drinks, and that's the hangout spot for as much as of a dancer that I am. So it was kind of odd seeing that, but it's a fantastic venue, beautiful venue. I found myself, when I first got there before the bands went on, I was just walking around going, oh my God, there's a balcony. And I was talking to Tina from Punk Rock Saves Lives, and she was like, this place is gorgeous. The architecture was just fantastic. Great venue for bands. It's definitely smaller than the House of Blues, I will say that. And a smaller crowd because of that, which was actually nice because, and I wasn't picking up merch anyway, but there was such a long merch line that I had to wait in for the NFT stuff, like the verification, get my cool sticker and ticket stub thing. But there's really, little lines would pop up here and there, but much smoother because a little bit less of a crowd. Cliff Diver, I will say, fantastic. They played second. I caught a little bit of them at House of Blues, but I found myself just completely enthralled by their performance last night at the Belasco. Very positive ska music. It's ska adjacent. They don't have a ton of horns, but it is definitely some ska. They're a band out of Oklahoma. Highly, highly, highly recommend checking them out. I will be picking up some of their music because I really just absolutely loved what they were doing up there. And for those of you that follow OC Music News, on Saturday, Rachel of OC Music News actually did an interview with Cliff Diver, so that maybe it's popped up today. I haven't checked yet, but it'll be, if it's not up already on OC Music News, you should be able to catch that soon. And Rachel does a fantastic job at interviews, and I'm looking forward to that one because I was like, I want to hang out with you guys, everybody in Cliff Diver. It was like, can we just hang out? Can we have a beer? Fantastic. So check them out. And of course, making new friends, which is really awesome. I was going solo. I went solo, drove solo to both shows. I knew a bunch of friends, specifically some Bambinos. Rachel, Lynn was there, like friends. We're going to be at House of Blues. Wasn't sure who was going to be at the Belasco outside of the Punk Rock Saves Lives crew and Tina, because I was giving them some help. They were doing the heavy lifting. I was just kind of stepping in when the crowds got crazy. But I ended up running into so many friends and then making new friends. There was a couple where I was like, I've seen your photo before. And then another friend of mine, like I'm just standing getting some fresh air on the patio, and she comes walking up. She's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, hey, and just that's how it happens at a punk show, which really helped to make the night even more fun. And like I said, Punk Rock Saves Lives, they were doing great numbers Saturday, but then yesterday, a lot more people coming through there, and just the kindness from people. In fact, I saw a guy who was like, oh my God, you have Narcan. How much? And they're like, no, it's free. Those are free. This is what we do to help the community. So he grabs 2 of them, and he's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And he does harm reduction. He's like, these are hard to get hands on for a decent price. And he pulls 2 20s out of it. He's like, because they are nonprofits, donations. And I was like, this is what's great about the community. Just right there. That's one of the fantastic things about the community. Bowling for Soup killed it. I actually watched a bit of them. That's one of those bands I was never super into. I love Jarrett. He's such a nice guy, but I've never been a huge listener of Bowling for Soup. But then you hear their songs and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. But then you just don't realize until you do it. The one cool thing, a lot of cool things, but one of the cool things was at one point they stopped and they brought a special guest out to sing with them, who happened to be Thomas Ian Nicholas of Rookie of the Year fame as well as American Pie fame. He played Kevin on American Pie, and I was like, hey, that's that dude. Took a few minutes to talk to him, got a picture. That's going to be popping up on Instagram this week. But he was a super nice guy. He's got his own music going on, so highly recommend checking him out as well. And then, of course, last night, Less Than Jake closing out the night. Wild, absolutely wild time in the pit. I ended up right at the rail again, was trying to get some photos, and just last night the pit etiquette was just off the charts. Everybody was helping everybody. Nobody was hitting the ground for more than like 2 seconds. A lot of crowd surfing, keeping them up. Big good on you to everybody that was hitting that pit last night and keeping it fun and light and just absolutely wild. And that really is the big reason my voice is gone right now, is 2 straight days of not only singing and dancing and partying with Less Than Jake and some other bands, but of course running into all my friends and talking to people about Punk Rock Saves Lives and all that other stuff. And my voice just said, this morning it was like, nope, you're done. I was like, all right. So much for that. And obviously we did get through an entire episode. I'm already absolutely ready for another Less Than Jake show. They are one of my absolute favorites. And as well as, like I said, check out Cliff Diver. Dollskin is another great band out of Los Angeles. They opened up both nights, and they did a fantastic job as well. All right, quick mention of In Defense of Ska tour that's coming up this Sunday at Garden Amp. I will be there. We've talked about this before. I've actually been sitting on tickets since November of 2021. This is one of the ones that got pushed back because, unfortunately, John Pebsworth, we call him Pebs, had a heart attack, and he is recovered now. So we got Bucko 9, Mustard Plug, Omnigon, and of course I'm biased, but one of my absolute favorites, Half Past 2. So I'll be out there at the Garden Amp in Garden Grove. I believe there's still some tickets available. It actually sold out, so they moved it to the main stage from the smaller stage, and then more tickets were available. So if you're interested in going, get yourself a ticket. If you've already got a ticket, say what's up to me. I'll throw you some stickers out there at the Garden Amp next Sunday. All right, and last but certainly not least, this is the first episode of September, which means we have a new Bassists Against Racists design. The September design for Bassists Against Racists is actually Terrence Anderson, the bassist for Frank Turner and the Sleeping Souls. So make sure you're checking out that design. The design is, of course, by the uber-talented Paul Smith of Zombie Teeth Clothing, who is also a fantastic music video director now. And if you want to pick that up and you're in the United States, you're going to pick it up through Chaos Merch. And if you're in Europe, you're going to pick it up through T-Mom Merch. As always, these are pre-orders. You're going to order it now, and it'll get shipped out next month once they are printed after all the pre-orders are done. And I will say, as I've always said before, and as you know, this is the brainchild of Lynn Lee from Bad Cop, Bad Cop. I'm not going to spill the beans, but I can tell you, very exciting things coming on the horizon for Bassists Against Racists. I got a little bit of inside info that I will not share, but I can tell you, get excited. Great stuff coming from Bassists Against Racists over the next few months. All right, that is going to do it. I'm exhausted. It's 1,000 degrees outside. It's Labor Day, and I almost did it. Almost did it. Blink fans, it's Labor Day. And saw those memes going around. I was like, yeah, love that. Love that reference. But it is Labor Day. Hope you're all enjoying a safe and hopefully air-conditioned Labor Day. We should be back next weekend with that In Defense of Ska tour. We might do a little Saturday record. We'll figure it out. We should be back next week. Same wall place, same wall time. So look forward to that. But I'll keep everyone updated. Make sure you're following us on Facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. You'll get updated on that kind of stuff. Also, YouTube.com/GoTellItToTheWall. And, of course, my own personal Instagram at SoCalSean, SoCalSean. And don't forget to bookmark SeanO'RourkeLive.com for exclusive content as well as links to our Patreon campaign and our merch website. All right, that is going to do it for episode 87 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And remember, Wall fans, common sensors, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you go, and especially no matter why you are doing it, always use common sense.